What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? Today is a beautiful Sunday, and I was chatting with my friend, my online friend Imre, and we've decided to keep chatting while streaming so that we can have other people join us as well. This is first of many, hopefully, and we'll be here talking about generally about life and maybe about politics. We're people who have common interests with certain opinions that differ on certain subjects. So we decided why not bring it to live streaming and chat here. So how is everyone doing in the chat? And hello, Imre, how are you?
Hey
Hello?
there, guys. I'm here too,
Excellent.
and I thought we could have a conversation with survival specialist here.
Nice,
So I
nice.
write down a few keywords that I thought we could talk about.
Mm-hmm. What do you have?
General, what I thought about is I wrote down subjects that I noticed that the chat also kind of found interesting.
Uh-huh.
So this is stuff like religion,
Cool.
paranormal activities. We talked about those two. I remember the chat being very animated about those.
Yeah, definitely. They love talking
Stuff like
about
UFO.
ghosts and UFOs for sure.
Yes, sure, sure. Everything like that. So and there's stuff like games. We could talk about games too, actually.
Yeah, yeah. We have
There are
Firefox in the
guys.
chat already. Hi, Firefox. How you doing, dude? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, right. Well, let's start with a general thing, right? So, how about I talk a little bit about myself, introduce myself as a normal human being, apart from the gamer, right? And you do the same as well. All right. Here we go. So, well, I am from Cyprus, like we said, like it says in the chat as well. I'm a Turkish Cypriot. That means that, with my ancestors have been living on this island since for 500 years or so, basically, since the Ottomans conquered the island. Um, I am ethnically speaking Turkish, but culturally Cypriot, Mediterranean, if you will. Right. So I grew up on this island. I live on this island. I got my education in the United States and the United Kingdom. I got a degree in biology and genetics. And I'm married. I have a kid. I have a baby son, 10-month old. Uh, yeah, that's generally it. And I'm a teacher. I teach biology. That's what I do. What about you, Imre? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, never really good at this stuff, but I'm 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have a degree in, I don't know what it's called though.
Okay.
It's a university degree. It's not environmentalism.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It's like,
Environmental studies,
uh,
perhaps?
what?
Environmental studies.
I guess that would be close to it.
Uh
I
huh.
know how it's said in Hungarian. So it's
Okay.
like, okay, so layman's terms, protecting nature. That's not the correct way of saying it, but I would
Okay.
say it's a. I don't know what it's called in English. That's my
Perhaps
problem.
conservation studies or something along those lines, maybe.
Something along those lines. Yes,
Okay.
with my line of diploma, what I could do
Mm hmm.
technically is I could go into a national park
Mm hmm.
and monitor life, like not demographics. We use that for humans, but
Oh, like
like
more on the ecological side then.
yes, yes. So
Okay.
population, monitoring populations of
Okay.
all kinds of animals.
That's
Uh,
obviously a little bit of biology, so yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So yes, it's ecology. I always was fascinated by it. I love it.
Cool.
Like I like doing back even when I was a little. I love doing stuff like getting a big jar of water,
Mm
getting samples of it,
hmm.
and
Mm.
try to cultivate the most diverse amount of life forms in it.
Oh, that's pretty
I
awesome, dude. I know a channel that does that. Like they have those big jars and fill them up with stuff, and
yeah.
they see the diversity of that stuff. I love that. Awesome. Go on.
Yeah, so I love doing it. I always was a big animal guy. So
Oh,
I had tarantulas, I had snakes, I had well, I had dogs and
okay.
cats too.
So normal
That's
pets
not
plus the extra.
yes. I had whatever. I had what are they called in English? Again, all kinds of insects. I just gonna say all kinds of insects, all kinds of creatures, frogs, everything. What I
Okay.
could catch and get it in a terrarium. So I've been experimenting with these things.
Awesome.
So anyways, So that's my diploma, but the problem is it's very hard to get a job with this. So
Uh-huh.
eventually where I settled is beekeeping,
Okay, that's pretty cool.
beekeeping, and now I started learning programming because programmers are very desperately needed everywhere. So
Yes. Yes.
so I thought, well, might as well learn something useful now
That,
because
that's
honestly
awesome,
at
dude.
yeah, because at university I didn't learn too much honestly. Like
Hmm.
what I know about the natural life 90% of it is my own learning, and what we learn in university is mostly useless, honestly. There's a lot of just the baggage and stuff you don't even need. It's just there to
Keep you
hold you
busy.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Nah, I mean, I wouldn't say that about biology because I learned a lot of things in every lesson, obviously,
Oh,
and
oh, for sure. For
yeah,
sure. I don't doubt that.
natural sciences are. I mean, obviously, what you studied is somewhat of a natural science too. It is a natural science, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a mixture of things, and there's a lot of like, I need to learn agriculture. I needed to learn a lot of
Okay,
that,
pretty cool.
learn how to, like, how agricultural machines run,
Oh,
which is
wow.
completely useless for my field.
Okay.
Like, I'm gonna do with it? What am I gonna do with a tractor now?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna use.
that's a time filler. That's a time filler. Nothing else.
Yes. Exactly.
Um, Firefox says, "I'm good, and you." I'm doing great, dude. We're both doing great, and that's why we're having this conversation. So yeah. Let's see. And then
So,
you're learning programming now, and you're from
well, just
Hungary,
started.
born and raised.
Yes. Yes. Born and raised.
Awesome, awesome. I had a Hungarian friend at university. Lila Nemet was her name.
Name
Nemet.
at Lilo.
Nemet.
That's how we would say.
Okay,
But
Nemet.
yes, that's fine. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's. I mean, I didn't learn much about from Hungary from her. To be honest, I have very limited information, like knowledge of Hungary. But yeah, maybe you can
Turks
tell me about.
consider it. Turks consider it like they consider us brothers.
Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
well, well. Half of Hungary agrees. The other half says no. So it's
Okay.
like, is that?
Well, I mean, Ottomans fought the Austro-Hungarian thing, right? Empire.
Oh, no, it's more like just Hungary, the Kingdom of Hungary.
Okay.
That's before Austria-Hungary.
Oh.
So we we were called back then the Shield of Europe.
Uh huh.
What happened is the Ottomans technically offered us to, okay, brothers, just let us through,
Okay.
and we said no, we're Christian now,
Yeah,
and okay, then we will do it the hard way. So what
yeah,
happened? We well, half of Hungary got conquered,
uh huh.
but technically we stopped the Turks, but at the cost of, well, what technically happened is we break both our backs. So the Kingdom of
Okay.
Hungary was crippled, and the Turks were also crippled. And
Yeah. I
eventually,
mean, that was the main downfall of the Ottoman Empire, really, not being able to like get through Austria and get through Hungary. I think. Yeah.
yeah, so we really weakened the Turks at
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
there was this stalemate. Well, not stalemate because technically we were conquered,
Mm.
half of us, the other half hold it out, and that's what happened
Yeah.
technically. So, and there's all by today's standards, we still say that, well, we should have just said, go on through. We should give them supplies and just let them through because the West then betrayed us. So there's
Mm.
that narrative too.
I understand. I understand. Well, I see. I didn't know that aspect of it. I barely learned that much Ottoman history anyway. All I know was that they couldn't go too far, and that's why they started receding and losing land over time. And finally, they lost like Greece and Romania and Bulgaria, those places too, and
Yes.
finally got to where they are now, which is
Yeah. Well,
interesting.
plus that's the nature of empires in
Yeah.
general that
Exactly.
they
Exactly.
expand, to the farthest point, and then problems start to just drown the empire.
Exactly.
Every empire dies by a thousand cuts, death by a thousand cuts.
Yes.
That's the tendency. Like
Yeah.
what's happening today in America, I would say that's very similar. Things are happening, not the same. There are differences, but in general, that's the
Yeah,
gist of it.
I mean, it's yeah, exactly, because like the whole idea of empires have changed dramatically since the time of even
Yes.
the English
Yes.
Empire, I would say. It has changed. Now the American Empire is a whole different type of empire. Enda is
You're
here. Hi Enda, how you doing? Turkish versus Buruhu. I don't know what that is. Um, Turkish help Palestine. Are they? That's good. That's good. Lon, how you doing? Hello, hello, hello. Right. Go on, dude. What were you saying?
Yeah, it's just come up that so empires. Actually, I read something interesting about this too. So what's interesting about America as an empire is that, for example, empires before America just conquered. So they conquered, they took the territory, and they annexed the territory,
Yes.
and then exploited the resources on it.
Yes.
America does the same thing but differently because what America does usually is that they go into a country. Oh, I almost swear. I shouldn't swear. So
No,
they
please
went
don't.
into, they destroy the infrastructure, and then, quote, they help that same country, and of course, destroy the leadership and get a puppet government in its place. So what happens is technically they are reliant on America in every possible way. If you say no to America at that point, they will not give you the resources necessary to rebuild your infrastructure. So you're completely under their thumbs.
I,
So they don't conquer in the same way as the Romans, because the Romans, there were people that were happy about being conquered because of the roads, the aqueducts, just the technological and Roman order that was brought about. The people that resisted the Romans first actually were happy about Rome. They were literally wanted to be part of Rome.
yeah.
But America doesn't does that. What they do is literally make you unable to say no by destroying your infrastructure and making you reliant on their resources.
Well, I'm gonna get to that. Hang on. Buggers, what's up? How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Turkish help Palestine. That's good. Like I said, and where is Imre? Is asking Lon. Lon, Imre is on the other end of the line on Discord. Unfortunately, it'd be really difficult for me, I think, to be able to put both our videos side by side. I wish we could do that. That would make the conversation a lot more interesting. That would make it better for the viewer, for sure. But maybe in the future we'll figure it out. I haven't really been in most streams recently. Well, that's okay, buggers. I'm glad that you are here now, and you come by and you say hello. You come and leave as you will. That's the gist of the channel, or anyway. Anyhow, going back to what you were saying, Imre. I agree with some of that, and I don't know if I'm 100% uh, in agreement, is that word? I don't know. I'm not sure if I fully agree with the statement that they destroy the infrastructure of every country.
Yeah, that would be, yes, I guess that's a hyperbolic a bit. Yes, that's
Uh-huh.
true.
Yeah. That I mean, maybe the leadership of most countries they will destroy. If they don't destroy it, they will somehow get it changed towards someone who favors them, right?
Yes, I guess the most important thing is influence at the end of the day. So they
Exactly.
will, I guess, unnecessarily will not destroy if they don't have to. It depends on I guess, the resistance they face, I should
Exactly,
say.
exactly. And if they, I mean, they will always have leverage, and that's how they are able to grab those, say, I don't know, companies or resources, whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
By influence, as you said, which is at the and at the same time, this is very saddening that this is happening, right? I mean, it's unfair that it's happening, but at the same time, it's saddening that American population is A, unaware of this, and B, they don't even benefit from this. You know what I mean?
I think there are now movements like that want to just like there is a lot of protests both on the left and the right. Both on the left and the right about anti-war sentiments.
Anti
So
what? Sorry? Anti?
anti-war,
Anti-war. Yeah,
anti-war.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
So it's happening at this point, but well, of course, it still be well. I guess it can go very different ways. It can go. The American empire will collapse either in a few decades or might have its Caesar, and let's say it will have a bit more. Its lifespan would be increased.
I
It
see.
depends on where stability goes. That's what I think, but who knows? Who
Well, who
knows?
was it? I can't. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I think either it was Secular Talk. God, I can't remember his name. Klunsky, his first name. Or it was one of the liberal talk shows who mentioned, who constantly mention actually, and it is several channels that, as you said, the American empire is in decline, is what they say, right? That's how they describe the current situation, which is cool. Which is cool. But I mean, what's going to replace it, and what's coming after that is really the question, in my opinion. And there's also the sentiment. There was a question that a friend of mine has asked me once we were in university. Obviously, I went to university in the United States, and I was openly criticizing the United States in front of my American friends, right, for
Yes.
its wrongdoings. Um, and then a friend of mine has directed me the question, and this Norwegian guy, would you rather have American imperialism or Chinese imperialism or Russian imperialism? Like he said, look at yourself. In
Right.
American imperialism, you get to travel wherever you want, and you get to. I mean, obviously, I'm quote unquote privileged in that sense, right? And you get education that you want because, and I got the education that I received because I got a scholarship, right? I wasn't able to like afford it myself. I got a scholarship, and that's how I done it. So I received a scholarship, and I was able to speak my mind freely. I could post about it on the internet and not get prosecuted, right? And he said, like, I mean, what do you think is going to happen to you if you're under Russian or Chinese imperialism, right? That's a very fair challenge, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What,
Again. Yes.
like,
So,
go on.
well, I guess I get the point. The point is that this empire, this declining empire, is better than the alternative. That's
Yes, yes,
yes. Well,
certainly.
I'm not like happy with the idea of okay, Russia invades, like so, America collapses, we just fall under either Russia or China. But honestly, I think China is much more of a contender because
Yeah,
Russia's economy is the size of Italy.
yeah.
That's pathetic. That's pathetic. Russia is in such a
It's
not
slap.
in it's not in a position right now to I think China is much more. So there is this temporary alliance between Russia and China right now because there is America there. America still has the strongest military. It can
Hmm.
project power very effectively because it has the most carriers.
Yes,
So it didn't matter back in the day. This is why America stayed at top for so long because of its carriers.
right.
Because it doesn't matter that you have 10 times more tanks than America
Yeah,
because you can project power. It doesn't
exactly,
matter. Like
exactly.
it's like it's if you play MOBA games, there are metas in MOBA games. And I remember
Yes.
when I played I know it's gay, but I played League of Legends. And
What do you
the
mean?
thing
Don't say things
so
like
what
that. Don't say
any
things like that.
all
MOBAs
right.
are awesome,
Any
by the way. I play Dota all the time. You know that. Go on.
all right. So anyways, and there was metas in these games, and what happens as they balanced and new characters are introduced and patches and everything all the way, the metas changed. So there was tank meta when you had to be very tanky, very
Mm,
beefy.
mm,
Sometimes you were like AD carry meta. I don't know if Dota has AD carries. It's like when you shoot auto attack.
right
What?
clicker, we call them.
Anyway,
Like, physical damage.
yes. Anyway, the point what I'm trying to say is there was a meta when it was mobility
Mm,
meta, meaning
mm,
that as long as you can engage and disengage at your own will, you just win.
yeah.
There was a time when that was the strongest meta, meaning that it didn't matter how tanky, how strong you were, because the enemy was just jumping and flashing and flying around and dashing, and you couldn't catch them.
Mm, mm.
They just pick you off one by one, and even though you could have been 10 times stronger than them, it didn't matter
Matter,
because
yeah.
they picked you off one by one.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of power projection, that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that you have these super armored tanks. It doesn't matter because you just get bombed
Yeah.
where it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y-
Yeah.
your factories get bombed. it didn't matter. Your people are now starving,
Yes.
and you didn't even shoot one bullet. It's
Hmm.
like that's the strength of America to this day, and I think it's losing it. Its morale is falling. The military morale is falling drastically, especially since they are now there's advertisement of this. Okay, this is also moving into too much into politics, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say it.
It's your decision.
Should I say?
It's your decision. You
Oh,
call it.
I'm just gonna say there was this advertisement about bringing in LGBT and all this stuff into the military,
Yes.
and it has a demoralizing effect on the military, and it's just becoming dysfunctional. It's a late stage empire, no longer has an actual. I would say there is a hierarchy in the how should I put it? The quality of an army relies on things like are you have warriors? Where do you have warriors? Warriors are one that fight for honor, for some higher ideal. Do
Mm.
you have soldiers? Soldiers that you have that will fight for your country? Or do you have mercenaries? And America has mercenaries who
Yes.
fight for money.
Yes. Always had.
And yeah, well, I
Well, not in the
guess
First
for a
World War.
long
Not in the First World War, but Second World
yes.
War,
So
but since.
yeah, I would say since a long time by now, it's been mercenary armies.
Yes.
So people who fight for money.
Yes.
So that's the lowest tier soldier you can get because their morale is the lowest too. So a Taliban that fights in, I don't know, in the desert
In the
has that's
caves.
why in the caves that actually kinda resisted the Americans because they were fighting for their own people.
Yeah.
So the same idea goes for like Serbia had similar experiences where like they were just there was this war that was this I guess once again we're moving into too much politics, I guess. I don't know if
Hmm.
we want to move this. I have the list here. Should we proceed to
No,
this
I mean,
area?
I like it. Go on. I mean, some of the stuff that you say may be misunderstood, but doesn't matter. Just carry on, and I'll stop you if I think it's too much. What about Serbia?
All right. Okay. Okay. So
Hang on. By the
Vietnamese
way, and yes, Erdogan is the president of Turkey. Why does my friend have a British accent? Why do you have a British accent, Imre?
I'm Hungarian.
Because she's Hungarian.
I don't
Military politics 101. Federation airspace. What's up, dude? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're talking, I mean, what boys talk about military and politics, so it's not
boys being
surprising.
boys.
It's not surprising. Go on, dude.
So yeah, so the same thing happened in Vietnam.
Mm,
The same thing happened in Serbia. It's the idea that when there is a people that actually is fighting for its existence,
mm.
there's just much more
Effective.
reason to fight.
Yes,
There's much
exactly.
more reason to fight tooth and nail.
Yes.
There is was back in the classical era. This was a very well known thing for generals that you never corner your enemy because if you do,
They will fight.
then they
Yeah.
to the last man.
Yes.
So
Albert, hello,
you
hello,
do
hello, welcome.
so what you did is you just give them a channel where they can flee,
Yes.
and then you chase after them and cut them down,
Yeah.
because when they're fleeing, they're not fighting naturally.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a bad idea to corner someone.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, the thing is, yeah, you're spot on with that. But like at the same time, I wouldn't go as far as saying that these mercenaries are ineffective. You know what I mean? Because the weapons of war have changed dramatically. It doesn't require for these mercenaries, at least some of them, right, to be actually present on the battlefield. And that's what we see with these drone attacks and everything. And that is why, actually, Barack Obama has made it so that they have more drone attacks all over the world instead of having soldiers on the ground. And
Yes.
that's what the general American population is in fact agreeing to, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, right? But they don't want their troops to be elsewhere. They don't want their troops to be fighting in another country. But they don't mind, they don't care if their government's bombing some other country using drones, right? That's the that's the general thing that I have understood. the general feeling that I got from most Americans. Obviously, people on the left or on the right, as you have mentioned, do want the interventionist everything to stop, right? That includes
Yes.
libertarians. That includes, Bernie Sanders supporters, democratic socialists, or social
Yes.
democrats for that matter.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean,
Honestly, it's conservatives and liberals who are actually most of the time they're more pro-war than
yes,
the far
yes,
left, far right. The
uh,
far left and the far right agree that no, we shouldn't have war.
yeah, yeah.
And in the middle, that is more in the hands of the establishment, hence to just agree with it. They
Well,
just went with the flow.
let's name the establishment as well. It is the military industrial complex. That's what the establishment is, and of course they want more wars because that's how they make money. And hang on, Federation Airspace says the worst military in the world. North Korea, am I wrong? Russia, it's so many spy on Cold War. Says Enda. Well, I don't know if I mean, what do you mean by the worst military Federation Airspace? Do you mean that they're the baddies, or do you mean they're like under supplied, or they are just not trained? Is that what you mean? What do you mean by?
Familiar. I'm not familiar with this Federation airspace. What is this?
Federation Airspace is a guy in chat. His nickname used to be um, MCG 2021 or 2020 or something like that, but now he's changed it to Federation Airspace.
When what he did? What did he say? What was his
He said
question?
the worst military in the world is North Korea. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I don't think this. Probably some African country has the worst military.
Yeah, but I think what he means is they're the baddies. They're like the people who want to destroy the planet, the fabric of the time and space.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not either. I'm not either. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't say that. I would, as a matter of fact, say that North Korea is just a little villain that America has projected to be expanded to be something that it's not, in my opinion.
North Korea is just being strangled a lot, and
Yeah.
therefore it lashes out. It's just does threats because it get embargoed. It just gets suffocated
Exactly.
technically. I think that just not long ago they got. Now they're actually kind of liberalizing too, so it worked. That's how I'm. Yeah, so I guess this is a good point.
Mm,
They didn't destroy North Korea as infrastructure, whatever little there was.
mm.
It was not necessary. America just made sure that eventually their governments cave in
Yeah.
under embargoes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess you're right at that point that indeed, when they can do it without firing a gun, they will do it.
They'll do it exactly, exactly, and that is the general democratic approach. I would say Republicans are more on the side of war, but Democrats are more on the side of yeah, let's suffocate them and let them, whatever. Which is interesting that we came to this point, that we circled back to this point, and there is something that always has amazed me: Iran. Iran is not caving in, bruv. Iran is not changing either. It's very interesting, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Support, like Russia supports them, so are with arms especially.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're not in a position like we Hungarians trade with Iran,
Okay.
for example. So it's not so they're not cut off completely.
No,
So
not completely.
because they're so far away from America. So the sphere of influence of America weakens as you get farther away from it, naturally.
But like you said, they have carriers in the Persian Gulf. They have the like. Imagine like it is so crazy. I mean, we'll talk about this as well in a minute. But they do have reach to Iran very readily.
Well, what I mean by influence is not specifically that they cannot reach them with military, because I know that Iran is technically surrounded by American bases.
Hmm.
There's even this joke that if this is a meme that if Iran doesn't want war, why did they put their country next to our military
Military
bases?
bases.
Probably you saw that one.
I saw that at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. True, true. That is so good. That is
So
so good.
when I say sphere of influence, I would say it's more along the lines of political. So, for example, when something from America comes to the West,
Mm.
it takes some time, depending on what wave of influence is coming from, and it always reaches East or Central Europe much more dampened or much weaker and much later.
Mm.
So that's what I mean by that. So, for example, Black Lives Matter starts in America. It reaches Western Europe a bit later, and by the time it reaches Central and Eastern Europe, it's almost non-existent.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
guess it would. So, and the same thing goes with, let's see,
And
America says,
I'll pause
yes,
you there for a second. And you're completely right. And I'll add on to that as well and say that, like, by the time it gets to, like, for example, as east as Turkey, it loses its meaning completely. It doesn't even
yeah,
mean anything to the people who live there. But obviously that depends on, every country has their own specific things. So for example, Black Lives Matter wouldn't matter so much in Turkey. It doesn't, like, as a concept, it doesn't matter because the racism in Turkey is not even existent that much. That's purely because
yeah,
the nation is
yeah,
so
true.
mixed. You know what I mean? So it would be the whole racism doesn't exist that way. Like, there is segregation in a
Yeah,
society
yeah.
based on ethnicity, but not on race, not on your skin color or anything else. It's all
You mean
different.
you mean in Turkey?
Yeah,
There's segregation.
I would say so.
Wow, I didn't know that actually.
Well,
I mean,
depend. If you're Kurdish, then you're mostly a second class. Mostly, that's in quotations. It used to
oh
be
yeah,
worse.
of course.
It
Yeah,
used
yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah, of
worse,
course.
but it has
Yeah,
gotten
yeah,
much
yeah, of
much better.
course. Yeah, like in Germany too, there was like clashes between Turks and Kurds.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it happens there too.
Mm,
There
mm.
is deep-seated conflict.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, it's interesting. It will can get back to that at sometime, at some point you want, and I'll use that point to demonstrate that no country is actually free of any guilt in that sense. So any state, in my opinion, is charged with some wrongdoing at some point or another. You know what I mean? And that includes
Of course,
countries that even, like, I would call, you know, these are good people who want, these are good governments who want peace and prosperity for almost everybody. You know what I mean?
of course. This is human history technically, if you think about it. Like
Mm.
when, so this has always been used. This what we have today happened before. So when someone says, "Oh, these people did that, that people did that," so I'm not crying about the Ottoman Empire. They
Mm.
technically ruled over Hungary 150 years, took away a lot of people,
Yeah.
and we technically we have a geological location called the Alford, which completely got depopulated because of the Turks.
Oh wow.
But I don't feel especially. I'm not angry at the Turks. I don't. I just look at it as, yeah, that happens because this is history. Like an empire
Exactly.
will do that.
And
I'm not gonna. Yeah,
I'm glad
I'm
I'm
not
glad
gonna.
that you're at that stage because that's exactly my opinion of it as well, and that's why we do not want empires to rule over the world anymore. And that's why we're upset at the American Empire and criticize it at the first place because we look at history and all the wrongdoings of empires. That includes the Turks, the British, the, I don't know, give me something else. Oh, maybe the Spanish, even in
Spanish, yeah.
Americas. That would be like
Well,
a
the
horrible
caliphates,
example. And or the
caliphates,
hmm?
the Arab
Oh, the
caliphates.
caliphates. Yeah, I mean, you name it. No matter what the empire is, they killed people, they murdered people, and they ruled over others, depopulated, raped, pillaged, everything, right? And
Yeah,
it's a little that's, I mean, like, the whole system right now is, like we said, slightly different, but not that different at all anyway, right?
yeah,
And you look at the United Nations, who's supposed to be like establishing peace amongst nations, right?
yeah.
See, it's like, yeah, what a joke.
oh, oh, I had another great meme. It's like it goes like this. It's a United Nations in Hollywood movies. And then it's like it's this super ripped. You know the dog meme, right? The dog face.
Oh yeah,
The
the
dog
one that's really buffed up. Yeah.
ripped dog is there, and it says like, "I represent the combined mind of all three nations, and
Yeah.
I will." It's just he will
Huh.
enforce the law, and
Imre, pause a minute.
that.
Pause a second. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, guys. Pause a second. Sorry about that, guys. I am back. We have a visitor. Özgür, say hello. My son's here, in case you're not looking at the screen, Imre.
Okay, I thought on UFO. We have a visitor. I thought maybe. What did you say? He's 10
he,
months old.
yeah, he's 10 months old. He does look like a bit of a gray alien, I suppose, if you force it. Hi. Hi. Say hello, Imre. Hello.
Okay.
He doesn't speak very much.
Hi, little one.
His mother busy doing something, so he's gonna join us. Boggers goes, "Aw." Well, it's a Sunday, so it's not like this was very planned. I mean, we did want to do it, but my
Yeah,
wife
yeah.
was like, you know. By the way, Federation Airspace says Kim Jong Un's army is they mostly ate nothing. His people are starving, not enough sleep, and their soldiers are smaller than me.
Yeah, their soldiers are really small. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Like I saw a picture with with an American soldier. It was a white guy,
Yeah.
and next to it was an eight like the king King Jong. It's like a North Korean soldier, and it was like a manlet on a manlet level. So super
Lol.
small.
When you said Empire, I thought of Star Wars. Lol. Yeah. Empire.
Hollywood, yeah, Hollywood will do that to you.
Ah, good. Alper says North Korea is a Muppet country with one purpose, which is being the enemy on paper. Exactly, Alper. That's exactly what I'm saying as well. Sorry about that. He likes to grab the microphone. The state serves on what? It just justifies a huge military presence at the region and nothing else. Exactly. Exactly. You have to check who benefits from the conflicts like this. Exactly. Ezio God. Hello, Ezio God. Welcome, welcome. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you doing yourself, sir? Now I have to look after the little one as well. Oh. So, can we go back into the topic, Imre, or should we move on to another one since we had a bit of a break?
Where was I? I don't know. What
All
we
right.
were talking about exactly? I don't
I
know.
don't remember as well. But what about those UFO movies, dude? Did you see them? The videos that were released by Pentagon?
Yeah, yeah, I saw them. Those, yeah, it was a fighter jet that was following it with this thermal camera, or
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what
yeah.
was.
Yeah. It was like, and they done it apparently. Like, there's only been two videos released, and it was this guy called Alessandro or something,
Uh-huh.
who used to work in Pentagon doing the research. Baby politics. Oh yeah, the baby politics are the real politics, my friend. You have no idea. And he was going to resign from this office that did the research on the UFOs, but he made sure that those two videos were made public before he left office, and now he's like going around to all these UFO people. Don't swallow it, yeah? All right, just put it in your mouth for a little bit. Okay. Okay. He likes to put everything in his mouth, so gotta give
Sure,
him
of
something
course.
to put in his mouth. Oral stage, they call it. And
Yeah, of course.
right, take this one instead. Yeah. Give me this one. Take this one. Yeah. Now this one. Right. So, what do you think about those?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure they're not fake.
Okay.
like they could be true. I'm open to the idea. I
Yes.
just don't know really. It's like they could use it. I like it came at a time when they released these videos when tensions were already high in the world stage
Uh,
and in America. So
uh-huh.
I could see it as both of just a distraction. It might be real. I just don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. That's my take. It might be real. It might not be real. I can really imagine that there is. So
Hmm.
there is no doubt that there is life in the galaxy,
Yeah, we all
or
agree
at
on
the very
that.
or at the very least in the universe. There's no way there is no life in the universe. There's no way.
Yes,
Uh,
it's so big that it has to be.
Now I guess you could question whenever what is the limit of technology that can actually do?
Hmm.
Because if we go from the perspective that okay, UFOs they came from at the very least the closest star, probably I would
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, has to be. I
Then
mean, not even if not the closest star, maybe within the vicinity.
yeah, so it has to be some close location because well I read sci-fi, so I know how this one there's the FTL, the faster than light travel, which
Yeah.
is kind if you really would to have a empire around the stars, you would need FTL, you would need faster than light travel because
Mm-hmm.
even if you travel the pace of light, it would take I don't know how many
Hundreds of
years.
thousands of years. Exactly. Exactly. Like
Like
you wouldn't be able to do it even at the speed of light. Even you have
yeah,
to either have faster than speed of light or warp kind of like you need to
bend space and time so you
exactly.
can
So
yeah.
the wormhole thing.
Yes. Did you know, by the way, this is a very interesting thing about how space and time is not just a concept,
Hmm.
but it's really a thing. So higher mass objects in space, for example, if you go to Jupiter,
Yes.
time will literally flow differently than if you're here on Earth.
Really?
Yes. In fact, they need to calculate this with like what are they called? Artificial things that we shoot out in space. What are they called?
Space probes.
Probes. Yes, space probes. Satellites.
Uh huh.
Space probe satellites, they have timers and they need to calculate in the time difference that this space-time thing causes. Because space literally bends
Yeah.
over high mass objects.
Yes, because
And
it's to do with gravity.
yes, but space-time is literally a thing. It's not just a concept that yeah we have space and we have time, yes of course. No, it's literally a thing that time flows differently,
I
which is
didn't know about this
insane.
very much. No, I don't. I mean, my understanding of physics is limited. Well, because time is relative, says Easy God. Is it to do with that? I think it's to do with gravity. Not. Wait. Does relativity take into account gravity? I don't know. I don't know.
That would make it relative, yes. I
Okay.
You can look at well you can say it in a perspective term that yes if I sit on a very hot like oven, 1 minute it will feel like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an
Hmm.
hour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if sitting next to a beautiful girl for an hour, it will be like 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Speed affects time. Yes, speed does affect time, but also does gravity does too. I think, guys. What about the SCP Foundation? What is the SCP Foundation?
I think it's a game of
Oh, wait, I think
uh
Federation Airspace told me about this. It's the it's oh god, I looked this up even. I looked this up even.
it's a really simple game from what I saw. It's like some you're in a laboratory and it's like it's full of very just and all kinds of anomalies. Some are creatures and objects that behave in a way that they shouldn't be able to behave.
Uh-huh.
That's the gist of it. So there's
Okay.
a candy that turns you, I don't know, into something else if you eat it.
Okay.
Stuff like it's
So it's fantasy.
yes, it's a sci-fi slash fantasy. I don't know what to call it.
Okay.
Hmm.
And that says 2950 will aliens coming. Well, gravity affects speed, therefore time says yes. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Huh. Yeah, I don't know much about physics. I really don't know. Anyhow, so going back, going back to the UFO thing, right? UFO footage. Well, it's well explained in the Galilean transformations through internal frames. I have no idea what that is. Is your God? Oh,
I
hello.
heard about that,
You
or
heard
just
about that?
don't remember it,
Okay.
or don't remember it. Either of those.
Okay. Like what I think is you're spot on. I agree with that. It could be a hoax by the government to keep people distracted, right? I see that as a legitimate argument. At the same time, I also see that they are future humans who have, changed it a little bit, right? And who come
Ah,
back and to observe history. I also see that as a valid argument because instead of having to have the travel in space, they're traveling in time is maybe a thing, right? I don't know if that's possible, but it also sounds more plausible
plausible.
in my head because it doesn't require the space travel, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess we can go wild in any direction, and yeah, maybe that's also maybe. Although I
Yeah.
don't. That's not how I envision humanity's future from what I've seen so far. Like, uh, I'm like, as I know, as I said, I learned in environmentalism or whatever we call it. I don't know what to call it. The point is, it's what I'm seeing is we're on the cusp of both an ecological and industrial collapse.
Yes, indeed.
And here is the thing: once we get into this mode, like we get into this collapse, I don't even know how far we can climb back up. Because imagine this. Okay, we use most of the oil, and oil is not just fuel, by the way. Oil is necessary for electronics, for
Yes.
solar, for
Yes.
we use it for everything. Without oil, we don't have not tree, free or not free, but very cheap fertilizers,
No.
pesticides,
Mm-hmm.
fungicides. All of this goes away.
Yes.
Like modern agriculture is bye bye
Yeah.
without oil. It's not just that we use it to drive cars.
Yes.
And on top of that, we have resources that we're mining to the point, even metals, that we require more and more special equipment to get to it, to chemically flush it out, to process it. We need complex machines for it. Now, imagine that we have a collapse. Let's say 95% of humanity dies with a lot of other species. And what happens after that? So we're left in this ruin of a civilization, and we can't even mine ore the same way we did. We have iron in cars and in stuff outside, right? But the problem with that is the rust will eventually eat all of that away.
Yeah, and we don't have
So,
the energy to recycle it anyway, since we don't have the oil. So whatever's available
yeah,
is going to be just maybe slightly bent, melded a little bit, maybe. So it's not going to come to the. No, I see your point. I don't. I think that is a very fair point. Hang on a minute. Vanos, what's up? Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for the well wishes for the baby. Yeah, I'm spending time with the baby right now. Can I send you a video about the SCP Foundation on Discord? Please do, Federation Airspace. What are your thoughts on the COVID situation in India? And Federation Airspace says that the SCP Foundation is a military organization that's funded by the entire world. These protect mankind from creatures that human will not understand. The SCP Foundation secure, contain, protect. Right. And Enda says Allah. Why do you say Allah? Because Vanos is Turkish, and what he said was his well wishes was, "May God protect your child," is what he said. Okay, that's why he said Allah. May God spare him is what he said. That's a common thing that you say even if you're not religious. I'm not sure if Vanos is religious or not, and we can come back to that as well. And yeah,
that's true.
I completely agree with that. I don't think we will ever I see this as I see your point. Like in the future, we will not have this, and that's why I'm so fascinated with these post-apocalyptic type of scenarios, games. You know what I mean? Because I feel that
This is where we're going technically.
This is the best we're gonna be able to achieve.
Yeah. Well,
Unfortunately.
I would say it won't be. Well, I don't think it will be like not well. What post-apocalyptic games out there are? You would play that strategic city builder. I don't know what it was called.
Oh, the survive in the aftermath. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually tried it.
Yeah.
I bought it on the internet free.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. And
Bought
and
it for free.
I actually got bored of it. I don't
Okay.
think that's how a post-apocalyptic society will look like.
Okay.
I think it will be actually eventually nature takes back what's there, what's
It's
hers, I
yeah.
guess, and it will be very similar to how we lived.
Okay.
Like probably we will have iron tools at least for a while, and probably we will have guns to some degree, but limited, I would presume. And
Yeah.
that's how I imagine it. It would be a weird mix of not even, I would say, before medieval era. It will be like tribal times, but with technologies of the past for a while at least. And later on, I guess, depending on what we can do, those technologies will eventually fade. A lot of them.
I I'm not. I don't want to speculate on the technologies that there will be. Obviously, they won't be not. It won't be like survive in the aftermath, because in the aftermath there is like you find rare earth metals and components and stuff like that, and you rebuild the society literally.
Yeah.
It's not a post-apocalyptic different type of world. It's more of a rebuilding civilization type of scenario, which is what's, I guess, appealing to us in its core, because we want this because we like this, right? Being able to connect with everyone all around the world. Like, for example, Easy God is asking, where are you from? And I'm saying from Indonesia. I'm from Cyprus. You're from Hungary. Alper's from Turkey. We're all from different places all over the world, and we get connected here on the internet, and we can talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, right? And that's beautiful to us. We enjoy that. But nonetheless, going back to the point, I'm not going to speculate the technologies, because I believe in human ingenuity, and they will be able to come up with things that we won't think of. So they will be able to adapt to the situation, and that is, I think, our biggest strength as a species, being able to adapt to whatever environment that we're in. Not biologically speaking, but rather using our brains, right? So we
Biologically too, to
and
some degree.
yeah, to a degree, to biologically as well, such as losing our hair, losing our fur, right? That's one of the most recent changes that happened to us biologically.
Meditation is also one because if you're like, there's a lot of UV light,
Mm,
you will be selected out of the population. Well, here's the thing, like what we did is with tools, we technically a lot of people there are light-skinned people in like in very hot climates.
yes,
But if not for the clothes they wear, they would die. They would eventually would be selected out of the population over the
yes,
course of well, let's say 100 generations, maybe less. I think less than 100 actually.
right.
Because and the same way, if not for technology, like darker skinned people would very much like D vitamin deficiency would be a huge problem for them
Yes, exactly.
in
But I mean,
older
at the
culture.
same time, you do say that, but like depends on where you live. It depends on the climate as well. So like
That's
if you have a darker complexion, then you have to live in a place that has a lot of sun, because A, it gives you protection, and
Yes.
then it also, you have enough vitamin D. But as a dark-skinned person, you can live wherever you want now, or as a light-skinned person, you can live wherever you want now. Because if there is
Yes.
a supplement that you need to take, then you take it, which is crazy, by the way, because I have vitamin D deficiency,
Well,
slightly, not so much, a little bit, a little
even
bit,
though
not too
you're
much.
pretty light skinned, it's
I
interesting.
am not, I am not very, yeah, I am very light skinned actually, but yeah, it's a genetic thing. It's a genetic thing. Apparently, in Cyprus, most people are.
That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
I know, right? And hey, look at Cyprus. Like, there's so much sunlight, right?
Yeah, it's very weird
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. It's genetics. It's genetics. It's from all the inbreeding, dude. It's all
But
Cypriots marrying Cypriots. There's not that many of us.
you say you represent the your skin tone represents the average in Cyprus, or
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Most
very
people.
interesting.
I mean, it varies a lot. There are people who are like really really white, and there are people who are. Well, we have black people too, so we have
Yes.
black Cypriots. So there's a wide range, but nobody. This is the thing. Like, I never considered skin color to be a thing that separates people. You know what I mean? Even like
Yeah.
before I learned all this distinction that all this like ideologies about racism,
Yes.
I saw everyone as just, oh, here are some Cypriots, and if you speak Turkish, then you were a Turkish Cypriot. If you spoke Greek, then you were a Greek Cypriot, and if you spoke Armenian, you were an Armenian Cypriot. You know what I mean? That
Yeah, I
bottom
get it.
line.
Yes, I get it.
Right. By the way,
Yeah.
so hang on a minute. I sent it says Federation airspace. I'll definitely watch it, dude. So many post-apocalyptic setting places in Russia. That is actually true, and that's why you have all these people go to Russia and go to these ruins of, like, for example, like Pripyat and places, and go around and look at the stuff like that. We do have a place like that here in Cyprus. It's called Varosha. You can look it up. It was like this tourist destination spot, and it was taken over by the Turkish military, and then they closed it from the public, and it's like a post-apocalyptic city now, which is pretty crazy, right? Someone actually
Interesting.
posted about it on the 7 Days to Die Facebook page. You wouldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, I've been there. I've been there as a little kid. It's surreal. You said something, Imran? Sorry, I missed it.
Well, but nothing important. I guess all I had to add to this whole skin color thing is, I guess the conversation comes about, or the conflict usually comes about, that there is one group that says that skin color is not the only difference, and the other side says, for the most part, yes, skin color is the only
Mm-mm.
difference.
Skin,
So
in
I
my
get that.
opinion, skin color makes no difference. But uh, in my opinion, opinions is what matters. I choose people. I pick people based on their opinions. You know what I mean? So the more we talk, the more you'll know what I mean by that. I'm sure. Um,
Yeah, sure.
uh, okay. By the way, Federation Airspace says there's a meteor that is bigger than California. It has 500,000 tons of iron. Whoa. Is that like close by? Are we gonna mine it?
Yeah,
Easy God
that's
says,
usually.
I'm from India. He's a content creator. That's awesome, dude. Keep creating that content. Federation Airspace says he's from the United States. I am white like damn white, but I am Mexican. The worst thing of all is that I don't speak Spanish, but I'm 98% white. Okay. These stupid distinctions are hardwired into our minds since childhood and are still suffering. Yeah, I mean, it's silly, man. It's silly how you get conditioned to certain things and maybe you don't. Like, um, this is, I guess, also going back to the point that you were saying, Imre, is that, like, I did not, I was not hardwired to think that skin color is a distinction, right?
That's interesting.
So I
I
never,
always was, actually.
that's to do, I guess that's to do with like country you grow in or the family you grow in, whatever, right? So we
Yeah.
never cared about skin color. We never thought about skin color. All we thought about was ethnicity, right? So when I saw people
Yeah.
discriminating each other based on skin color, I was shocked, right? I was like, what do you mean? And then when I saw people, and this is still a little bit, despite the fact that I got rid of all these ideas in my mind about people being separated based on ethnicity, I still find it crazy that all these different nations mix with each other, especially in the United States. That the Polish married the Germans, and the married the English, and then the Italian, and they're all mixed. And then people can say, I'm 25% this, 35% this, whatever, right? I find that crazy. You know what I
So
mean? I
that
used to find
bothered,
that.
that shocked you more.
That
That's what you.
surprised me more. Exactly.
I'm the exact opposite way around. I'm literally the opposite way around. I'm like, I want to choose the most phenotypically similar to me,
Uh huh.
and I don't cousins or something like that. Okay, I'm not there. What I'm saying is, I want to marry within my race,
Okay.
and I'm actually pretty liberal with nationality. So I'm
Okay.
literally the other way around as you.
So this is the, but I don't want to go into this too deep. But like
Sure.
this is what has actually shown me that these are just constructs, that these are just things that we made up, and that they're not significant. That's what this has shown me. You know what I mean? When I saw the other side of the medallion, that you can discriminate people based on other types of differences, and the differences that I was thought mattered didn't matter. That's when it all collapsed, if that makes sense.
Well, I would say, well, the we talked about a bit this too about.
If you don't want to go too deep into it, I understand. Maybe in the future.
Well, we can decide really when we want to go into it.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not gonna like I'm not deep diving in, right?
Okay.
So I guess I will say this. I guess to me, racial differences are real. They are
Okay.
significant, but at the same time, national. So we talked about this a bit. It was a private conversation, so no one else heard that one.
Yes.
Where we talked about a bit of you as a social democrat said that nations are. How did you
Made
actually
up.
say that?
Nation
Made
states are
up.
made up.
And I thought to myself, yeah, that's correct. They
Mm.
are made up.
Mm.
Like the idea of borders, it's like there was this
It doesn't. It doesn't actually
saying
exist.
that if you go into space, you don't see borders.
No.
Well, my answer to that was, well, you don't see human rights from space either.
No,
So
but
it's
I mean,
like
I don't say that. I don't say that, right? But what I say is this: you don't even have to go to space to not to see borders. Go between India and Russia, two massive countries. Is there an actual border? Not really. No. Listen to this. Listen
no,
to this. Let me tell you my experience with borders since this came up. I thought in Cyprus that there is an actual physical border between the north and the south, right? Because in the city where I live, which is a divided city, there is. I've seen the border. There are, barbed wires. There is like cement. There is an abandoned street which became the border, right? And then on the other side, there's proper like concrete walls and stuff, right? There is an actual border. But
right,
if you go outside of the city, there isn't. And then I went outside of the city with my friend, and he was like, "Let's go to the south, and we can, by the way, legally cross to the south." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to drive all the way to the border, to the border crossing. We're just crossing from here." He said, "Right?" I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, we're just going to go across." I was like,
right.
"Isn't there like a barbed wire wall, something military at least, right?" Nothing. We just walked over. I mean, we just drove over, and we were on the other side. So borders, even in a small country like Cyprus, they don't even properly exist. It's mostly in our heads, in my opinion.
Well, I would. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's of course borders is a concept. Nation is a concept. Like they are not physical things in reality. Like there's not a force field that stops me, right? If there's not a person to stop me, no one will.
Yeah.
And so the way I would say it, it's just territorialism.
Yeah,
So
sure. Indeed.
let's say there is a little bird. So I don't know if you know this, but little birds are sing all the time. It's not because they just want to sound beautiful to us. Technically, there's two reasons why a bird sings. Usually, one is I want to mate, or GTFO, this is my territory. This is the two reasons why they say.
Uh-huh.
So you can say to this bird, let's say this bird found a great spot.
Yeah.
So there's this beautiful tree, very well protected from predators, water source and food source are near, and he starts singing. Now you could say that silly little bird, don't you know this tree doesn't really belong to you? And you would be correct. The tree doesn't belong to the bird. The bird might think that. I don't think the bird thinks like
I'm
that, by
sorry,
the way,
dude.
but
Pause for a second. I apologize.
yes.
Sorry, dude. Carry on.
So yeah, the point was, where did you leave?
Oh, the bird. You may say to the bird that this tree doesn't belong to you.
Oh yeah, okay. So it will be a true statement to say yes, the tree doesn't belong to the bird, but if the bird doesn't protect that tree, another bird would take it away,
Yes.
and the very perfect spot for getting well, founding a family, so
Yes.
having offspring, will be
Yes.
lost to it. And if he doesn't have the tendency to protect that place territorially,
Yeah.
then his genes will die off. And the one bird that will pass on their genes will aggressively protect that territory.
I see
So
what you mean.
I guess this is when we talk about kingdoms, nations, empires is actually different. But the point is, this is territorialism and it's part of survival. That's how I look at it. So it's as a concept, it's just a concept, I agree. But it's ingrained into our brains for a reason.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's ingrained, but at the same time, I let me think of it this way. Um, we don't want to share our resources, right? But at the same
Yes.
time,
Well,
system is not like the bird example, the bird analogy does not necessarily apply to the human case. You see what I mean? Because here's what's happening. We're saying that this is my tree, right? But we're
yes.
also at the same time finding ways of getting fruits from another tree and claiming that we got it rightfully, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And that's
Yes.
what's driving that other bird out of that tree onto my tree, if that makes sense. We're talking. We said we were not going to talk about this, but we just got into it. We're not saying the actual words, but we're talking about immigration. If you want to drop the topic, I'm perfectly fine with it. It comes to immigration and it comes to expansionism as well. Um, expansionism is a whole different thing, as you said. Empires is a whole different thing. It's to do with greed. It's to do with wanting to exploit more. But immigration is a whole different issue, especially to do with, like I would say, the Syrian refugee crisis, for example, is a whole different issue. I completely look at it from a different perspective. I look at it from an environmental perspective, not from a power struggle perspective, which is a main thing into it, but it is not. I don't think that, for example, what destabilized Syria is other countries. It's the environment. It's global warming that's destabilized Syria, in my opinion. And I think, in my opinion, we saw a micro example of what happens when we don't care about the environment. I
Well, I
don't know.
don't think we can, honestly.
What?
I don't, I just don't see it happening. People don't, honestly, industrial society is just such a, just
Plague.
outgrown us too much.
Yeah.
It's a monstrous force that it's just, it just sweeps us away in it. It's like we are becoming one with the machines, and it's like I just don't see we're stopping it. I don't see that
Yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah. Hang on. There are some questions here. Um, Federation Airspace says this is not real, but it was a dream, a terrible dream. I was walking to my friend's house. A truck pulls up, and people wearing sheets say, "I'm not joining you because my skin color is damn white. No tab." So you were discriminated in your dream, dude. That's sad. Genetics is some crazy stuff, to be honest. Genetics is not that well. I mean, if you look at it, we're all mixed. So I personally don't see genetics as I see genetics as a more of a joining thing than a dividing thing, in my opinion. Well, we'll get to that. That's called colonialism, says Easy Got. Yes. Safia is here. Safia is a good friend of mine in real life, and she says, "Do you think that you have an interest in survival games due to the fact that we are living on a divided island with with a ceasefire situation?" Um, yeah, definitely. It's a part of it. It's a part of it. It's I'm interested in the survival games because our parents were put into that survival situation, and that in survival games you have these like destroyed cities and like that you have to try to bring back civilization, and I feel that's part of what we've done in Cyprus as well. So yeah, yeah, certainly it has a component to it, but they're really fun to play. That's also another thing, right? I mean, like FPS games are fun, but like survival games are a different type of fun because there's like surprise element of trying to hold on to dear life. There's another thrill to it. But certainly, psychologically speaking, it has an effect on it. Yes, Imre, you were saying. Sorry, dude.
Where we were?
I have no idea. I'm lost.
Because I'm
Oh,
following. I'm following the questions too, and I want to listen to those. And
yeah,
maybe I should write down where we left. Always, I'm gonna have a paper
yeah.
here, and
Um,
I will
I'm gonna
something
actually
to write.
go. We are an hour and 10 minutes. This is really fun. I don't want to go, but I have to go. So we should repeat this at some point, definitely.
Sure,
Okay, I had a
sure.
good time. I had a good time. Did you have a good time?
Yes, of course.
Excellent, excellent.
In fact, the time fly by so fast. I thought
It,
we had more time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, right? And we went from one topic to another, which is awesome. I like that. Even talked about UFOs. Hey.
Actually, we didn't touch much that I actually wrote down, so we have plenty full of stuff to talk about.
Excellent.
Plentiful.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, guys. I hope we were able to bring you something slightly different, just chatting and talking about life and world in general and about our opinions to a degree. Imre here, I think, has done a great job despite the fact that this was his first stream, right?
Yeah, I don't do this.
Yes.
This is my.
I think you've done a great, man. I think you've done great. And yeah, we keep swearing to a minimum and everything works out.
Wait, did we swear?
Not even. Not even.
Remember.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us, guys. And thank you for joining me, Imre. I hope you all have a great